Okay, hi, it's Christina Antonelli-Savoy again from the John H Chafee Fitness Center at Naval Station Newport, and here we are with our Get It Done in 2021 trainer segment. So a recap of last week quickly is that we are looking at lower body fundamentals for our focus for January, and we were able to do a couple of really quick functional movement screens that trainer Dennis was able to do on myself and Pat Mahoney. When we did that, after further inspection, we realized that I was on a lower level and my functionality based on a level of 3 was really only a 1. Pat's was a 2, and then today we're going to do those same screenings on Kat, and you're going to see that she will be able to score a 3. So remember, at home, you're going to have 3 different references to guide you through where you should be at when we get to the actual lower body part of this workout in 2 weeks from now. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it off to Dennis, and I'm going to trade out the camera with Kat, and Kat is going to show us what those 2 assessments that we did last week, which was the, in case you didn't remember, the overhead squat, and then we did the active straight leg raise on the ground. The joy of this YouTube channel is you can reference anything that we do anytime you want. You can go back into that video library. So if you're saying, hey Christina, what are you talking about? This is the first day I tuned in. Well, you're gonna go to trainer segment, Get It Done in 2021, and you're gonna look up last week's showing, and then it will make sense on what I just said to you today. So with further ado, we're gonna get that last assessment in, and you'll be able to see a 1, a 2, and a 3. And if you want to look at it like this, it's almost like a red light, a yellow light, and a green light, okay? So I'm a little bit of a red light. Pat's a little yellow, but he's good to proceed. He just has to be a little bit aware. And then I'm going to show you the green light today, which is Kat, which means when we get to the squatting and deadlifting, she's not going to have to worry about anything but her personal form, and she is good to go in that full mobility of those movements. So let's pass it off. All right, and here's Dennis.
All right, good morning. So as Christina said, last week we did these 2 screens on Christina and on Pat. Kat, as you can see, you can just look at her. A, she's young. She's highly mobile and highly stable. So when we did a little brief screen on her last week, and we did in fact verify that she's got really terrific mobility and stability, right? So as Christina mentioned, there are 4 scores possible. If we see a movement and you have pain, that's a 0. We stop. We do not do that if there's pain, right? So if you do this at home and you have pain in the movement, don't do it, okay? Go see your physical therapist or your doc, right? A 1 means there's a significant compensation that we need to work on some kind of corrective exercise. That's the red light that Christina referred to. The yellow light is 2, means there might be a little bit of compensation, but it's not significant enough for us to worry about. And a 3 means you have really good mobility and stability and without any compensations in your movement. So we're going to set Kat up here. She'll stand in front here, and just push that foot out a little bit. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. And now Kat is just going to descend into a squat. There you go. As low as possible. Okay, so she holds it there. You can see that her thighs are below parallel. Her upper body and her shins are roughly parallel, right? So no compensation. The feet haven't turned out. So there you go. There's a 3, right? And when Christina and Pat did it, we saw some compensations. Christina could not get as deep as Kat could. Pat could go deep, but then had to turn his feet out. And that's why when we put Pat up on the board and he gets a little heel lift, then he's perfectly okay, right? So we'll try Kat here in the active straight leg raise. Yeah, so just make the middle of the, there we go. Perfect, and now down, yeah, these come out. Yeah, perfect, okay. So I'm going to put my dowel in about the middle of her thigh, and I'm going to ask her to raise her right leg, slowly and deliberately, holding her left leg down as straight as possible, and keeping the raising leg, and there you go, right? She's way past the dowel, her legs are straight. We'll try the left leg now. Okay, see, so Kat has essentially zero problem. Nothing's happening down here. This leg is straight. She's way past this. If we were here, that would be a 2. This is a 3. And if you're down here, that's a 1. Okay? So when you're down here, that means you just don't have the correct mobility and stability to do something like a squat or a hinge or deadlift or any of that. So that's the red light that Christina was talking about. We say, if you get 1s in something, stop doing that activity, especially under load, right? Because you're hurting yourself. You're compensating some way. If you're a 2 or a 3, you're fine. Go ahead, load it up. You'll be fine. So for Kat, she's a 3 on both. End of story. She can load. Pat is fine with 2s on both the deep squat and the active straight leg, right? So there are no red lights for Pat. Christina had a 3 on the active straight leg raise, but a 1 on the deep squat. And, we talked last week, Christina has multiple surgeries, injuries, right? She's, got advice from both her PT and her orthopedic surgeon. So, anybody that's had any body, B-O-D-Y, that has had wear and tear that you accumulate, you're going to be working against those things. You may not be able to get to where Kat is. We don't have to, right? That's great. That's, oh, yeah, baby. But we want to try to get you to a point where we're not seeing any significant compensations. And we do that through some set of corrective exercises. So, in Christina's case, one of the things we assessed off screen was her ankle mobility, which she already knew was somewhat compromised. And indeed, she is short of where she needs to be. So that's the kind of corrective exercise then that Christina would work on to help improve her squatting ability. As she said last week, she's not going to give it up. She's going to work to try to regain some of that ankle mobility so that she can squat. But in the meantime, we would say, look, Christina, don't squat under load, right? Because your body will do it. She's strong enough to do it, but it'll do it with compensation. So that's what we would say to anybody. If you don't have the right mobility, back off a little bit. Not forever, but temporarily while we try to correct that mobility limitation with some kind of corrective exercise.
All right, so we're going to tag out now. Hold on. So effectively, for Get It Done in 2021, for this to start to make sense weekly as we build, and again, we're just trying to create something that you can utilize at home. We would love nothing better to have every single sailor in the United States Navy be able to come in here and get a full FMS assessment via Dennis, myself, or another one of the trainers that we have certified and help you progress. But we're going to do the best that we can to help you through this YouTube channel and learn with us so that you can video these things at home, go back to these references, and continue to plan and program your own workouts. And again, what did I say last week? Safe, effectively, and efficiently. So with no further ado, we're going to move on to the phase 1 that I call of a safe, effective, and efficient workout, which is the new way to think about your warm-up. Some people already know this. We talked a little bit last week. People like to just go jump on the treadmill or get on a rower or get on a bike. But really what we need to do is actually prepare the body for the work that's going to be done. So if I'm going to be doing a lift day, why does going on a treadmill, it helps, and it gets the blood flowing, it raises my temperature, it does, it raises my heart rate a little bit, but did it really prepare my joints for the lifts that I'm going to do? Not really. So this new way of kind of looking at the warm-up, which has been around for a long time, but we're introducing it, Navy-wide, we have, and it's a new programming that's been out for about 10 years and things, is to really make this now your new toolbox of warming up. So as Dennis said, I am a red light on my squats, so that's going to be excellent for you to follow as these weeks progress, because you're going to notice that what I do is going to be, essentially the movement will be the same as Pat and Kat's, but like Dennis says, I'm not going to use any load. I'm going to use a lot of bands. I'm going to probably use a lot of body weight. I'm probably going to use some things to help me not turn to that outside. I'm going to do things that are limited. I might not drop to that full 90, but I'm still going to be doing some squats alongside of them. So let's check out these warm-ups. We went through them a little bit last week, ourselves as trainers, and now we're going to hit them. So your PDF that you pulled up, hopefully last week, you pulled this up, and now you're going to follow along. So for me, I'm going to write down what my corrections are from my screening. So on active straight leg raise, I'm fine, good to go. Okay, mobility was fine. But my front squat, I know that that's a 1, and I'm going to be working on some different ankle mobility exercises as well as some thoracic opener exercises, because if you notice too, I also tilted forward in that squat. So that's my corrective exercises. Those you do need to work with a trainer. You can do some research on your own, but as soon as we're able to see each other face to face, that's something that we will get you ready and rolling to do. So for now, you're just going to pick whoever's the closest that mirrors you when we get to those workouts, and we're going to proceed from there and see if my corrective exercises that I'm doing either at home or during my workout, pre-workout, post-workout, hopefully up to 5 days a week, I'm working on that, separate from just getting to have a better squat. Okay, like I said, it will all make sense as the weeks progress. So the first thing that we're going to learn today is going to be a pillar bridge. Now the great thing about learning the pillar bridge is it happens to fall right in line with the new physical readiness test, because as we all know, a few months ago, the curl-ups were taken out and the plank was put in. So it's not only a great warm-up thing, it's also something that now is going to be part of the physical readiness test. Okay. So I'm going to have Pat work on here. I'm going to have Dennis work on this mat. Keep our distancing going as we still are in our COVID-friendly environment. And what I'm going to ask them each to do is set up into what they think is a pillar bridge. Okay. So great. So what I'm looking for as a trainer, and you at home, again, you can record this and then self-analyze yourself, is I'm looking for the wrist, the elbow, and the shoulder to be in line. I'm looking for a flat line from the head down to the hips. I'm looking for the feet to be about shoulder width, no wider, and not together. So Dennis, right here, I'm going to ask him to correct out, and I'm going to ask him to spread the feet just a teeny bit so that they're about shoulder width. This is looking great. He's all in line, and then the last part of this is their head and spine in line. So your pillar bridge, you want to be holding for about 30 seconds. That would be a great place to be at. I'm going to let you rest for a second.
Good.
Okay? So what's going to happen is we're going to show you a couple of things that can go wrong here. And that's okay. And we're going to show you some modifications. So with the pillar bridge, sometimes if people are still working on their shoulder stability, it's not exactly where they want it to be, you can go into a forearm plank, which is also what's on the physical readiness test. This is called a pillar bridge. There's also a forearm plank. So I'm going to have Pat show a forearm plank. So now what did we do? We took a little bit of stress out of this shoulder joint, but we still have that perfect alignment there. The feet are still set up the same way, and the head is still neutral. So Pat, show me how you can take your head out of neutral. What would be bad? That is really bad, okay? He's putting a lot of stress and undue need into that spine right now. So I'm gonna ask you to bring that back to neutral. Okay, great. All right. Dennis, I'm gonna ask you to show me what a sway back looks like. Okay, so see how Dennis is dipping down? Again, definitely not, spine is not neutral. He is not holding that bridge well. So for you to at home, I would say, can you raise your hips up towards the ceiling a little bit more? Okay, relax. So where that would lead us is, can I do that for 5 seconds? Can I do it for 10 seconds? Can I do it to 15 seconds? What is the time that you get to before you start to break your form, okay? So that's where you start, and the rest of us, if we're already in that great form, we're gonna hold that for 30 seconds and be done, and warm up number 1 is done. So Pat, what I want you to show me a tent. A lot of people will call it a tent, and a lot of people will also call it like a raised back. So show me that. It doesn't matter. Okay, so what you can see here is Pat is what's creating a tent, or he is unable to distribute his body into a proper form. So Pat, if I said, can you bring your hips down towards the ground? Okay, so at home you're gonna have to figure out if you're able to do this, okay, because I'm here with you virtually, and we're gonna help you through these months, but you're gonna have to analyze where you are on that, okay? So relax. So you're either gonna push the hips down, make sure the head is neutral, or is the arm stacked? Is everything in alignment? So a couple of modifications I'm going to ask Dennis to show. Easy fixes, okay? We are all at different levels. What we can do is we can do a modified plank, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to put the pressure into those knees, so we're going to help distribute a little less of your body weight through this plank. All rules still apply though, okay? So his elbow, shoulder, perfectly stacked. His head is neutral. Everything is tight, and his spine is in alignment. That is a perfectly beautiful way to start. If you can do that for 20 seconds and only give me 5, can you raise your feet just for 5 seconds? Can you bring your feet up to a full plank for 5 seconds?
This one, yeah.
So that's a great way to start with your modifications and relax. So you have to just figure out where you're at. If you can build this to 30 and then all of a sudden you're able to keep doing this for a minute, well, it might be trying to try that 5 seconds here and there, and then eventually transition so that you're more time in the full plank, less time in the modified plank. And one more quick thing on the pillar bridges. Now, I've worked with people all different ages, all different spectrums. There are some people who have either had injury and coming back from such a level that they cannot support their entire body weight. I'm going to give you a quick modification, which is called a bird dog. For some people, this might even be a place that they have to start, okay? And eventually what we do is we take an arm out, or we take a leg out, and we'll work with you on that. But this might be where you have to start, and then eventually you can move it forward to that modified plank, okay? So just to be able to have a little bit of stability, if you're working with your physical therapist or your ortho, they might say, yeah, keep working in the bird dog position, okay? And then eventually a modified plank and then a full out plank, okay? So number 2, moving on, I'm gonna go just a teeny bit out of order. Forget that we keep all this stuff. We're gonna go to this glute bridge now, okay? So hopefully I gave you enough time to write down your notes there. Again, you could go back to videos, reopen this, and put down your own notes. So the next thing that we're gonna do is a glute bridge. So I'm gonna have Pat work on the glute bridge with me. Okay. Now glute bridges, you can relax for a second. They're utilized in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different formats. So if you happen to have done Pilates for years or yoga or other formats, sometimes they allow you to keep your hand with the palm towards the ground. What I have learned and what we're certified here at our facility is to actually flip that around so that that palm faces up to the sky. I'm going to explain why that is in a second. So the first thing for Pat would be his head in neutral. Flip those hands out. Make sure the palms are flat. Yep. Okay. Next thing I'm looking for Pat to do is make sure that his heels are about 6 to 12 inches from his glutes. Okay, we don't want them tucked all the way in. We don't want them too far away. So this is really good spacing here. I actually happen to have, hey, check that out, a spacer. Right there, so I can see like where he's at with that. And then what I'm gonna ask Pat to do again, depends on what format that you're used to doing your glute bridges in. We like to do what's called an active anterior tibialis. So what we're gonna do is actually bring our toes up, flex the feet, and put them weight into those heels. So great, heels up, good here. Palms are facing up to the ceiling, hands are flat against the earth. So what that palms up against the ceiling did was it allowed Pat's scapula to be flush to the ground. So if I have my hands like this, it kind of already puts my shoulders forward. What I want for that glute bridge is I want my shoulders and those flat bones against the floor, so when he brings his hips up, which he's going to do right now, that weight is evenly distributed on a nice flat joint surface there, and it is in the most neutral position to keep it injury free. Okay? So here we go. So this is your basic glute bridge. So what Pat's doing, if I was coaching Pat right now, the things that I want him to think about is drawing the hips up towards the sky. Hips up towards the ceiling could be another cue. Keeping those feet flat. And I want him to really think about engaging, because this is an activation for the glutes and the hamstrings. So am I really actively thinking about what I'm warming up right now, which is my glutes and hamstrings, as well as my lower legs, the anterior tibialis, and supporting calf muscles and Achilles. Okay, so Pat, I'm gonna let you bring that down. Great place to start. Pillar bridge, 30 seconds. Glute bridge, 30 seconds. That's it. So easy. Okay, Pat, what I'm gonna show you is if we have a couple of people who are still working on this glute bridge, bring that bridge up, okay? And just kind of let the feet stay down. And he's dropped. So if you're new at this, I'm okay. I'll let you keep the feet down. But this is what we're gonna work on. You gotta figure out if it's, again, it's only 10 seconds. Can you bring that up? Can you bring those hips up? Okay, that's what you really gotta work on, that cueing there on your own. Okay, and any other trainer here, anytime, I know we're doing this format for YouTube, but jump in there if you got some great stuff to say. I'm gonna let Pat bring that down. So that's a nice glute bridge for you. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is a glute bridge with hip flexion. Okay, and I'm sure you can Google these things, you can go on your computer and stuff and things, but we're moving into the glute bridge with hip flexion, and then we're going to finish with that 90-90 stretch today. So what we're going to do is ask Pat, he's got a good glute bridge, he's ready to go. We're going to bring it up with those feet turned up. Foot flex. And I'm going to ask him ever so gently to lift only his right leg in a flexed format. Okay, so now what we're looking for here is to hold that for about 1,000, 2, 1,000, and release. Bring that other leg up. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, release, and up. So he just did an adjustment on his own there. Hopefully you saw that. So what's going to happen is, as soon as you drive that right leg up, Pat, your body's going to want to dip down. So it's up to you to fight that urge and keep that hip, bring that down. Now bring that left leg up, okay? See, he's learning how to adjust it on his own and relax, okay? And let it go. So what's going to happen is, again, if you don't have a personal trainer right by your side to correct you on these things, you have to learn how to kind of feel that dip in your hips, okay? And it's easily done. I worked at so many places that didn't have mirrors and didn't have different things. So essentially you just get so aware with how your body moves as you travel through this journey with us in 2021, or you're going to refer back to what we're showing you weekly. But eventually you'll kind of feel that, like, oh, my hips started to dip. If you are struggling to do this, it's okay to do a second glute bridge. Okay, so just stay back in that stationary bridge. Pat can bring that up. And what I'm looking for you to try to do is 5 to 10 reps on each side, but maybe you're still at that 1 rep on each side, and then each week you keep trying it and seeing if you can keep that bridge up longer and longer and longer, but you still only need 5 to 8 reps per side. You don't need any more than that. Okay, great, and relax. So the last part today we're gonna go into is the 90-90 stretch. And again, everything that we are telling you, there are hundreds of variations of. Okay, but what we're certified for and what the part of this field that we are experts in, we're going to stick to our specialties and work with those. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have Dennis come over here. So if you think of 90-90, one of the things right off the bat, if you start to analyze some of the things that I tell this to my clients all the time, if you start to listen to what we're saying, say like bend over, row. Sometimes the name will actually give you all the information that you need. Sometimes it won't. But with the 90-90 stretch, the great thing about that is we're talking about 90-degree angles. Okay? So what I want to create here on Dennis, and Kat's going to come over and zoom in a second, is I'm trying to make a 90-degree angle between his hamstrings and calves. I'm going to try to make a 90-degree angle between his hips and abdomen. And then I'm going to try to make a 90-degree angle from his arms straight out. Yep, clasp those together. And I'm looking to try to get 90-degree angles throughout this. So the first thing I'm going to do is, because I can today, but if you were at home, you want to maybe get somebody to take a picture of this, you can put little pieces of tape on the floor, if that helps you, on your mat. Yoga mats have all these little like panels on them that you probably didn't even know existed, and that's to help you with spacing, believe it or not. You'll see like little dashes on them. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to say, Dennis, can you move your feet just this way here? Okay. And I'm going to ask you to just scooch them up a little bit. Perfect. So now I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with that. Okay. Over here, what I really need him to do is see his spine is kind of tilting forward here. I need you to push just that upper part of your body towards me a little bit more. And put these hands up just a little bit more. And then I need you to relax your head. Now, if Dennis can't relax his head, which a lot of people, we have some mobility in our head, which we'll get to that soon. Yeah. We're going to allow him to use a little compensation here, because I can't have him hold his head up like that, okay? So we're going to allow him to use a compensation, and then we're going to show you one without a compensation, okay? So the 90-90 stretch keys here are, Dennis, these knees, I want you to pretend that I have an important document there that you need to guard with your life. You cannot let it fall out of those knees, okay? You're gonna keep them stuck together, okay, at all costs.
Okay.
Okay, but what I want you to do is I want you to take your top right arm, and I want your head to follow, and I want you to relax and just see how far you can let that hand go behind you, and let your head follow it. And now you're starting to lose contact with the floor, so that might be a stopping place. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that hip started to rotate out. The knees are still connected, so that's great. Okay, so for Dennis right now, you're going to repeat that for 5 more reps. And each one taking about 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, close. Okay. Now each rep, hopefully, as the body starts to activate and warm up, he can get a little bit more contact with his scapulas to the ground, open up that T-spine a little bit more, which is your thoracic spine, and do that. And each week, hopefully, as he's doing his different exercises, eventually he can get that entire arm to drop to the ground. So stay at your level. Cues for you at home, if the knees start to separate, that's it, you're done. That's as far as you go, and you continue your reps to there. If you feel like your hips are starting to come off the ground as you rotate back, that's where you stop. You can't go that far, okay? Because now you just disrupted the whole chain that we're trying to work on, okay? So there's really not a point in doing that.
Right. I mean, I have to stop.
Yes.
As you said,
right about here, because now we've lost the alignment. And again, we're trying to do things safe, effective, and efficient. So it would be ineffective for me to let Dennis continue to do that hip roll. Okay? It would be ineffective for you at home to continue to do that hip roll, because now you've compromised one thing in spite of another. Okay? So I have Dennis, that's perfect. So eventually you would do that, you flip over, set yourself up for the other side, same cues, open up that other side. So I'm gonna push him here, I'm gonna push these up. Bring it, yep. Oh, look at that, that's perfect. Look at that nice tight 90-degree right there. That's perfect. And then he would open that up. So in about 3 weeks, we're going to be moving into our shoulder area and our upper T-spine, thoracic spine. So one of the things that we're going to learn coming up soon is how some corrective exercises to get that to come a little bit further, and potentially some corrective exercises to not have to use that compensation there on his neck. And again, for some people that may always be, okay? But the one thing you want is you don't want that neck just hanging there. Okay. All right, so great job, guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just get on the ground quick, and somebody, Pat, can you correct me if I line up incorrectly? And I'm just gonna show you what a good 90-90 mobility would be. So Pat, make sure that I'm lined up, because even myself, and all the times I do this, sometimes I still don't get this one quite right. Okay. Do I look like I'm good?
Yeah, it looks good to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So my head is able to rest here. It's not flipping and flopping there. And then nice and slowly.
Everything's staying together, so knees are together, feet are together.
Now I've seen people, and I know that there's a trainer here who can even drop their shoulder lower than I can. But this is still pretty good, okay? All right, so again, be about 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, follow it. And I feel some really awesome things going on here. And relax. So that is gonna be movement number 4 for today. And I promise you, there will be real work to come, okay? So we hit today, we saw, what do you have in your toolbox right now? You have what a 1 looks like, what a 2 screen looks like, what a 3 looks like, what a red light looks like, what a yellow light looks like, what a green light looks like for when we get to our deadlifts, our squats, our step ups, our drop lunges, our lateral lunges, and our rotational lunges, okay, which will be coming up. You've got pillow bridge to work on, 90-90 stretch, glute bridge with hip flexion, and when we meet you next week, we're gonna go over bent over Y's, pillow bridge with arm lift, reverse lunge with rotation, and inverted hamstring. So when we get down here right now, this glute bridge will help people who score 2 or less on that straight leg, because chances are they've got some tightness through this chain and possibly through that chain. So that glute bridge that we did today will start to help release some here. And what a lot of people do, myself included when I first started working out, is we tend to deactivate the most important muscle in this chain and the biggest, okay? So that's why glute, gosh, if I thought back before, I'm gonna even say 2004, if you told me to do a glute bridge, I'd be like, what are you talking about? That's what the girls in yoga do, right? So I would have no idea what you were talking about. And I was a trained professional then. So this information is fairly new. That's why I said it's a new way to warm up. It's a new way to think about things. You know, so now I know that this is so important and to activate that. And then when we get to that inverted hamstring next week, you're gonna see some of this stuff that we're talking about here on how we can work on bringing that from a 2 to a 3 or from a 1 to a 2 on that straight leg active raise that we did. So the dots are getting connected. I promise you, you're gonna get it done in 2021. It might seem like it's a little bit slow getting there, but if you just use all of these tools in a few months from now, you're gonna have a wonderful library of exercises and hopefully as little pain as possible and be as proficient and get to a more efficient way of working out. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Same time, same place, YouTube channel.